Hello students, myself Dr. Mohammad Azim Bagban, Assistant Professor at CIUSA Institute of Science. In today's lecture, we are just going to begin a unit number 2, MI201, that is enzymes. So in this particular lecture, we are just going through the general introduction about the enzymes. So let us begin with the lecture. Now, enzymes. Enzymes are key to life. No enzyme, no life. Now, what is an enzyme? Enzyme is a globular protein which functions as a biological catalyst, speeding up the reaction rate by lowering the activation energy without being affected by the reaction it catalyzes. Now, this is a diagrammatic representation of enzyme, and this is how that substrate is going to attach on the active site as shown in figure. Now, enzymes are protein in nature. That's a question mark. Whether the enzymes are protein in nature, up to the school time, we all have learned that one definition, that all the enzymes are made up of protein, but not all the proteins are enzymes. So again, we are going with that only. Yes, all the enzymes are made up of protein. They are globular proteins. Now, ribozyme is the definition. Ribozymes are the RNA molecule with enzymatic activity. Catalytic behavior of any enzyme depends upon its primary, secondary, tertiary or quaternary structure. Enzymes of digestive tract and those found in the blood are present in inactive form called a zymogen or proenzymes. So any enzyme which is present in a deactivated form, which is not activated, which is not a functional, then that particular enzyme is to be considered or called as zymogen or proenzyme. Now, etymology and history about the enzymes. French chemist Anselm Pine was the first to discover an enzyme, that is a diastase in 1833. A few decades later, when studying the fermentation of the sugar to alcohol by yeast, our father of the microbiology Louis Pasteur concluded that this fermentation was caused by a vital force contained within the yeast cell called ferments, which were thought to function only within the living organism. And then the conclusion that pure proteins can be enzymes was definitely demonstrated by the John Howard Northrop and Wendell Meredith Stanley, who worked on a digestive enzyme pepsin in 1930, trypsin and chymotrypsin. These three scientists were awarded the 1946 Nobel Prize in Chemistry. Enzyme nomenclature, that means a nomenclature or the naming of the enzyme, a naming system of the enzyme. So as we have seen the nomenclature system in chemistry, the same way over here an enzyme's name is often derived from its substrate or the chemical reaction it catalyzes. So the name of the enzyme is given on the basis of two things, either on its substrate or on the chemical reaction it takes place or it contributes. With the word ending an ase as, so enzyme name, the name of the enzyme will be end with ase, that is ase. Example are lactase, which ferment or which break down the lactose, then alcohol dehydrogenase and DNA polymerase. So ase, that is ase, is a characteristic of the name of the enzyme. Now different enzymes that catalyzes the same chemical reaction are called as isozymes. The International Union of Biochemistry and the Molecular Biology have developed a nomenclature for the enzymes, and that given EC numbers. Each enzyme is described by the sequence of 4 numbers preceded by the EC, which stands for enzyme commission, and the first number broadly classified the enzyme based on its mechanism. This is the classification on the basis of its function, EC1 to EC6. As you can see, the top level classification EC1, which includes oxidoreductase category, which catalyzes the oxidation and reduction reactions. EC2 enzyme classification 2, including transferases, transfer of functional group. Example is a methyl or a phosphate group. EC3 is a hydrolysis which catalyzes the hydrolysis of various bonds. EC4 is a group of lyases which actually involve in a breakdown of bonds, which cleaves various bonds by means other than hydrolysis and oxidation. EC5 include isomerases which catalyzes the isomerization changes within a single molecule, and EC6 is a ligases which function as a join two molecules with covalent bond. Now let us see briefly active site of an enzyme. What do you mean by active site? So enzymes are actually composed of a long chain of amino acids that have folded into the very specific three-dimensional shape which contains an active site. So I just want to let you go back to the previous lecture, that was a protein, and in the protein structure we have seen four structure of protein. One was primary, secondary, tertiary and quaternary. So apart from the primary and secondary, we have seen the tertiary and quaternary structure, in which we have seen the folding of the amino acid chains, right? So that particular folding in three-dimensional, taking such a way that it provides some shape, some specific shape for the binding of the substrate, right? So this is how the active site or the binding site of the enzyme come in existence, by just folding of amino acid chain. An active site is a region on the surface of an enzyme to which the substrate will bind and catalyzes a chemical reaction. So this is the active site on which the substrate is going to bind and it is going to catalyze a reaction. Now enzymes are highly specific for the type of the reaction they catalyze and for their substrate. Now we have to be clear that in this particular two images I have kept two different types of enzyme, right? Now see the image number 1. As you can see, this is the enzyme and this is the substrate. So enzymes having a particular substrate binding site on which this particular blue color substrate is going to be attached, because the shape of this particular enzyme or the active site of this enzyme allowing this particular shape of the substrate only. Now over here in this particular second image, as you can see, this enzyme is having a specific active site shape on which this particular substrate is going to bind. Now if you want to try to attach this substrate on this enzyme, or if you want to try to attach this substrate on this enzyme, then it is not possible, because the active site or the binding site for the substrate on both the enzymes are actually different. So this is how the enzymes and substrates bind together and making an enzyme substrate complex. In both the images you can see over here the shape of the substrate and the shape of an enzyme, or the shape of the active site or the binding site on an enzyme, is specific to the substrate. This is why the enzymes are highly specific to the substrates. Now enzymes with highest specificity and accuracy are involved in copying and expression of genome. These enzymes have a proofreading function. The example is DNA polymerase. This has the highest specificity and accuracy involved in this enzyme. As we know, the example of DNA polymerase enzyme, DNA polymerase is involved in a DNA replication process, right? And that particular DNA polymerase is having a proofreading capacity. Proofreading capacity, that means that particular enzymes can read the particular sequence on the opposite strand. For example, if it is adenine, then that particular enzyme will put thymine. If it is guanine, then this particular enzyme will put cytosine. So this enzyme is hardly making a mistake, because it has to keep a nucleotides and making a DNA copy. During the replication process, this DNA polymerase enzyme functioning as a proofreading. So proofreading, that means it can read that what particular sequence is on the strand, and the same opposite particular nucleotide it will put, and making a new strand. Now some enzymes require non-protein molecules for their activity. So enzymes are conjugated protein known as holoenzyme. Holoenzyme, that means apoenzyme plus cofactor. uh, in this particular definition, I just want to clarify one thing, that not all the enzymes are working like they are the enzymes whole itself, a whole enzyme will functioning. Sometimes some enzymes require a certain proteinous or non-proteinous part for the function. So enzymes without non-protein part is inactive, is called as apoenzyme. So whenever the cofactor or the non-proteinous part will attach to that apoenzyme, then it will be converted into the holoenzyme, and that particular enzyme is to be considered as activated enzyme. Cofactors can be either inorganic or organic compound. So this is way a cofactor or a coenzyme is going to attach with the apoenzyme and making a holoenzyme, that is a functional enzyme. Now what do you mean by cofactor or prosthetic group? A cofactor is a non-protein chemical compound or metallic ion that is required for an enzyme's activity as a catalyst. Enzyme will be there, but it is not functional until and unless it is going to get a cofactor. So certain enzymes require cofactor to making it its activation, a substance that increases the rate of the chemical reaction. Now cofactor can be considered as a helper molecules that assist in the biochemical transformations. Cofactors can be divided into two types: inorganic ions and complex organic molecules called coenzymes. Coenzymes are further divided into two types. The first is called a prosthetic group, which consists of a coenzyme that is tightly or even covalently and permanently bound to the protein, and the second type of coenzymes are called co-substrates and the transiently bound to the protein. Co-substrates may be released from a protein at the same point and then rebind later. So in the next particular chart, you are going to be clear about the coenzyme and cofactor. Now this particular chart is showing an example about the coenzyme. Vitamin. Thiamine is a vitamin B1, vitamin B1. Thiamine is a coenzyme form, thiamine pyrophosphate, and the reaction or a process promoted by it is a decarboxylation and aldehyde group transfer. The same way riboflavin, that is vitamin B2, coenzyme form is FAD and FMN, flavonine adenosine diphosphate, and redox it includes it taking a part in a redox reaction. Then pyridoxine, that is vitamin B6, coenzyme is pyridoxal phosphate. The same way we all know nicotinic acid, that is NAD and NADP. Then vitamin B5, biotin, folic acid, and vitamin B12. So these all are the part of the vitamin. These are the vitamins considered to be as a coenzyme, and these coenzymes coenzymes are connected with the enzymes. So without these coenzymes, certain enzymes are not useful or non-functional. The same way, some enzymes require cofactor, that is a metal ion. They don't require vitamins, but they require metal ions. So those metal ions are to be considered as cofactor. If they are vitamins, then it should be considered as coenzyme. If they are metal ion, then it should be considered as cofactor. The same way, some examples have been given in the chart. Zinc, Zn plus 2 is required for carbonic anhydrase reaction. Zn plus 2 is required for carboxypeptidase reaction. Then Mg plus 2 is a metal ion required for activation of eco R5. The same way, certain metal ions are required for the as shown in table, the enzymes as shown in the table. Now distribution of enzyme in cells. So enzyme can be distributed, or the functioning of enzyme in the cell or the manufacturing of the enzyme inside the cell can be of two types: intracellular enzyme and extracellular enzyme. Intracellular enzyme can be of three types: soluble enzyme, particulate enzyme, and periplasmic enzyme. Now what do you mean by extracellular enzymes? An exoenzymes or extracellular enzyme is an enzyme that is secreted by a cell and functions outside that cell. So it clearly means that that particular enzyme is secreted or created inside the cell, but it doesn't function inside it. It going it That particular enzyme is going outside that particular cell and functioning it. So exoenzymes are produced by both prokaryotic and eukaryotic cells and have been shown to be crucial component of many biological processes. Most often these enzymes are involved in the breakdown of larger macromolecules. So macromolecules are most probably present outside the cell. So this is the reason this extracellular enzyme or exoenzymes should be there to break down those larger molecules outside the cell to get them in. The breakdown of these larger molecules is critical for allowing their constituents to pass through the cell membrane. And for humans and other complex organisms, this process is the best characterized by the digestive system of the breakdown solid food. And bacteria and fungi also produce exoenzymes to digest the nutrients in their environment. And these organisms can be used to conduct the laboratory assay to identify the presence and the function of such exoenzymes. Some pathogenic species also use exoenzymes as a virulence factor to assist in the spread of this disease causing microorganisms. So exoenzyme or the extracellular enzymes are those enzymes which are secreted outside the cell but created inside the cell, and their function is actually in the outside the cell. Now intracellular enzyme and or endoenzyme is an enzyme that function within the cell in which it was produced, and the majority of the enzymes fall within this category. Can be divided into three parts: soluble enzymes. Soluble enzymes found within the cytoplasm and associated with the metabolic activity of the cytoplasm. Particulate enzyme are found embedded in the cell membrane and associated with the metabolic activity leading to the ATP generation. As we know that in prokaryotes actually mitochondria is not there, so cell membrane containing the ATP synthetase enzymes. So during that ATP synthetase enzyme activity, these particulate enzymes are required. And periplasmic enzymes located in the periplasmic regions and associated with the biosynthesis of the cell wall constituents, that we know that NAG and NAM, or the peptidoglycan and lipopolysaccharide constituents. Now what is the mechanism of enzyme action? So enzymatic reaction takes place by binding of the substrate with the active site of the enzyme molecules by several weak bonds. So enzyme plus substrate is going to give you enzyme substrate complex, and then that particular enzyme substrate complex will give you enzyme plus product. So enzyme will again back to the original form and the product will be there. The formation of ES complex is the first step in the enzyme catalyzed reaction. Then ES complex is subsequently converted to the product and the free enzyme. The first model about the mechanism of enzyme action is the lock and key model or the template model. As we have discussed earlier, this is the example that, as you know, the lock and key enzyme structure. Now as you can see in this particular diagram, in which the enzyme and the substrate has been shown. So this particular substrate, the shape of the substrate is in such a way that it will fix in this particular enzyme only. So this substrate is not applicable or eligible for any other enzyme, because the active site provides that particular shape for the binding of this substrate only. So this is the way enzyme and substrate are specific in such a way they making a lock and key model. Another is induced fit model, in which the substrate enters to the active site, then enzyme changes shape and its active site embraces the substrate and giving its a fit attachment. Then substrate held in active site by weak interactions such as hydrogen bond and ionic bond. Then active site or the R group can lower EA and speed up the reaction by acting as a template for substrate orientation and providing a favorable microenvironment and participating directly into the catalytic reaction. And this is the way in part number 4 the substrates are converted into the products, then product will be released and enzymes again will be there, and active site is available for two new substrate molecules. Again two new substrate molecules will attach So here two substrate molecule will be attached together in an enzyme, then enzyme will change its shape and giving the products, then again enzyme will come back to its original shape. So this is the way induced fit model works during the functioning of enzyme. These are my references for this particular lecture, a general introduction about the enzymes. If you are having any doubt, then you can write me on my mail address. Thank you so much.